Imagine the best writing session you have ever had. Now imagine having it on demand. No frustration, no forcing words out, just easy writing that flows. You can make that happen right now. If writing always feels harder than it should, it's because your brain does not know your writing is important. You need to show it or trick it. Take a deep breath. You've made it to the writing woods. There's no stress here, no pressure. We are just hanging out in these calm, beautiful woods talking about writing. And if you want more of this feeling, head over to our free Writing Woods community. It is full of inspiring, creative, motivated writers just like you. I never understood why I was able to get so much writing done at coffee shops. After my morning workout, I'd pack up my laptop, my notebooks, and head to my favorite coffee shop. I'd order my Americano, or if I was feeling fancy, maybe a latte, and I would find a nice, quiet spot, kind of tucked away in a corner. Put on my headphones, open my laptop, and start writing. I was doing the exact same thing that I was doing at home, staring at the same screen, but all of a sudden, after I went to this coffee shop, the words were flowing. For years, I've tried to recreate this in different contexts. The background noise at the coffee shop was really nice, so maybe that's what it was. I found soundtracks of coffee shop noise, tried a bunch of different ones. Not bad, but not the same. So I thought maybe it's because I'm in a room with a bunch of different people, and even though we're not all doing the same thing, there's something about that company. So I tried body doubling with videos or working with friends, and again, just not the same. I bought an espresso maker and my caffeine intake increased a little bit, but other than that, nothing really changed. So what was really fueling my writing during those coffee shop sessions? It wasn't willpower, it wasn't discipline, and it certainly wasn't the coffee, as much as I would love to believe that's true. Our brains are wired to chase dopamine and to respond to novelty. Your brain is looking for stimulation. That's how it knows what is important in this current moment. How did our ancestors know to run away from predators? With brains that responded to stimulation, like branches breaking, people screaming, that sort of thing. In today's world, the stimuli that indicate urgency in our environment are things like notifications, emails, your family hollering at you, dogs barking. Our brains register those things as important. Compare that to the blank page or the half-filled page when you're writing. There's not a lot of stimulation happening there. It does not signal an immediate danger or need. So our brains register that and say, this is a suggestion. This is something that can be handled later. So why is it that changing my environment, going from home to a coffee shop, when I was still doing the exact same low stimulation activity, suddenly kicked my brain into high gear and made it go, this is what we're focusing on right now? The truth is, I had given up trying to figure out why on earth this worked, and I was content to just visit my coffee shops when I needed a boost. But then a term in a book by Cal Newport caught my attention. In his book, Deep Work, he talks about something called a grand gesture. Newport defines a grand gesture as a dramatic, intentional action that costs you something. This could be time, energy, money, any sort of investment. And what this does is it signals to your brain that this work is important. What I am doing matters. It reduces friction and it creates this psychological weight, this commitment that makes our brain able to say, oh, I need to devote 100% of my attention to this thing. It is that important. Here's a quote from Cal Newport in Deep Work. By leveraging a radical change to your normal environment, coupled perhaps with a significant investment of effort and money, all dedicated towards supporting a deep work task, you increase the perceived importance of the task. This boost in importance reduces your mind's instinct to procrastinate and delivers an injection of motivation and energy. Grand gestures bypass the procrastination loop entirely. We are completely skipping past the motivation step because we've already committed and we're able to stop negotiating with our brain. You know what I'm talking about. When you're sitting there trying to write and you're thinking, okay, I just want to focus and write and work on this. This is important. But then that little bit of your brain starts going, you haven't done the laundry. That's pretty important. You should probably get that done because you might not have clean socks tomorrow. And also, did you put gas in the tank? Because you're heading on a trip in a couple days and you really should do that as well. And then your phone dings and you think, that could be important. That could be critical. That could be somebody in the hospital. I better check and make sure. And a million different things start circulating through your mind. And every time one of those pops up, you have to pull it back and say, no, that's not what we're doing right now. And force yourself to get motivated, to get invested in the work. What if you could skip that altogether? I'm going to read an example of a grand gesture from deep work. An even more extreme example of a one-time grand gesture yielding results is a story involving Peter Shankman, an entrepreneur and social media pioneer. As a popular speaker, Shankman spends much of his time flying. He eventually realized that 30,000 feet was an ideal environment for him to focus. As he explained in a blog post, locked in a seat with nothing in front of me, nothing to distract me, nothing to set off my, shiny DNA, I have nothing to do but be at one with my thoughts. It was sometime after this realization that Shankman signed a book contract that gave him only 2 weeks to finish the entire manuscript. Meeting this deadline would require incredible concentration. To achieve this state, Shankman did something unconventional. He booked a round-trip business class ticket to Tokyo. He wrote during the whole flight to Japan, drank an espresso in the business class lounge once he arrived in Japan, then turned around and flew back. Once again writing the whole way, arriving back in the States only 30 hours after he first left, with a completed manuscript now in hand. The trip cost $4,000 and was worth every penny, he explained. Oh, buddy. When we talk about these examples, a couple things come up. Because first of all, who has the money for that? I definitely can't afford to take a round-trip flight to Tokyo for no reason. And second of all, what the heck does this have to do with my coffee shop visit? Because I don't think a $4 cup of coffee is really going to change the way that my brain is functioning, right? Well, here's what I discovered. The grand gesture does not have to be all that grand. It just has to be meaningful to you. When I went on my coffee shop adventures, I took the time to get dressed, put on real clothes, because I live in the middle of nowhere and I'm not usually doing all that. Pack up my stuff, make sure I have all my notes, my good pens, go in, pay for my coffee, get something nice, find the perfect spot to sit down, and then all I had to do was write. That's what I was there to do. It wasn't the environment. It wasn't the sounds, the novelty, the smell of espresso. It was the fact that I had made an intentional effort to prioritize my writing. I'd bought my drink and committed to writing until it was gone, and probably well after. I completely bypassed my brain's need for stimulation in order to decide what is important in the given moment. I gave it a very clear signal about what was important to me right then. And that was enough for my brain to stop arguing with me and to say, oh, yeah, this is what we're doing. And all of a sudden I was working with my brain because we both knew that this writing thing was the most important thing in this moment. So let's talk about some examples, because grand gestures can be big, small, or anywhere in between. Some big gestures might be booking a writing retreat, either going to an established writing retreat or doing your own, going on a trip just for the purpose of writing. You could book a hotel or a cabin for the weekend. You don't have to travel any specific distance. It could be across the world or just across your county. You could have a dedicated writing day. No emails, no errands. All you're doing is writing. Maybe you tell folks about it so your family knows, hey, she's writing today. Somewhat smaller gestures would be something like writing at a coffee shop or a library. It was enough for me. Everybody's going to be a little bit different. But if it tells your brain that this is important and limits your escape hatches, how easy is it to stop doing what you're doing? How easy is it to stop writing and just move on to something else without any kind of repercussions? For example, if I were to get up from my spot in the coffee shop and say, I'm done, I'm going home, I would feel some consequence of that, because I would feel like I just wasted a bunch of time and energy getting up, getting dressed, driving all the way out there, getting my coffee, getting all set up. It would feel like I had lost something. By making this investment, you're creating stakes for yourself. You could also block off writing time on your calendar, even if it's not a whole day. We've got a bird singing to us. Smaller gestures could be using a really nice pen and a nice notebook, lighting a candle before you start, putting on some specific writing clothes. You could clear off your desk entirely before you start writing. Depending on the state of your desk, we may have to bump that up to the medium gesture category. Even just setting a timer and promising to stay until it ends. If writing feels hard, don't ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? Why am I failing? Ask yourself, what signal am I sending to my brain about this work? Because once your brain believes that writing matters, showing up gets a lot easier.